All right, Memorial Day weekend is here, but so is deer tick season. News 3 this morning, reporter Checkol has more this morning on the rise of deer ticks here in Dane County. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Adam. Yeah, so it is deer tick season, and I have Dr. Susan Paskowitz. She's the UW professor of entomology. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
So you were saying that there is an increase in deer ticks here in Wisconsin. Talk a little bit about your study.
Sure. We've been working at the Arboretum and a number of other small wooded parks in the city, and what we found is that in comparison with 2014, ticks went up about 10 times. So we had 32 nymphal, the immature stages of deer ticks in 2014. For the same amount of sampling in 2015, we had about 592, so a big increase.
That is crazy. 32 to 592. I mean, it just blows my mind within a year.
Within a year.
Now, what are some of the consequences that come from deer tick bites?
Right. So one of the really important things, of course, is that they transmit Lyme disease. There are also some other pathogens. One that I want people to be aware of called human anaplasmosis. That's another disease that's increasing in our state. And then there are some other much rarer things that I think people need not be as worried about.
And some of these deer ticks are just so small. I mean, you can barely see them, right?
That's right. So
are you
if you'd like to take a look. Yeah. So why we really worry is because the nymphal stage, this immature stage I was talking about, is so tiny. They're in these bottles that you can't even really see them. They look like little flecks of dirt in there. I'm sure you're not capturing that on the camera.
You can't see it. I mean, it's just crazy. You really have to look.
You have to be right up on them. And of course, when something that small gets on a person, you know, even if they look very carefully, it's going to be hard to always find them and get them off in time.
So what tips do you have for us as far as, preventing this from happening altogether?
Right. So people really need to take precautions. And when people are out recreationally, one thing they can do that will help is to wear light-colored clothing. So you see I got my light pants on today. You can tuck your pants in your socks, and that helps to prevent them from actually getting in. You can use repellents. And so here's an example of a repellent you can use. This is something that works for both mosquitoes as well as for ticks. You can spray it on your pants or on your socks, and that will help to keep them off. They often are getting on kind of lower, crawling up from the vegetation. And then you can also actually treat your clothing. And so this is something that I and my field team always do every year. We take our light-colored pants, our socks, and our shirts. We buy a product that contains permethrin, and then this gets sprayed on your clothing. So what you want is a nice sunny day. You can lay them out in the backyard, spray both sides, just enough to dampen the clothing. Let it dry before you put it on. And then this will act actually as a repellent, so it keeps off mosquitoes and ticks, as well as if the tick gets on and starts to crawl up, it gets a dose of this that will kill it before it can transmit the Lyme disease.
Awesome. Some great tips. Thank you so much, Dr. Susan. Just a reminder, Adam, for anyone who does want to go outside, I'm sure a lot of people plan on doing that this weekend. Just be careful out there. I mean, it is deer tick season, so some great tips here. Back to you.
You got to be careful because getting those off, especially little kids, they don't always handle it so well. Those moments.
No.
Unfortunately. All right, Checkol reporting live for us this morning. Thank you so much. From last year to this year, the number of deer ticks being reported in Dane County in particular has gone up significantly. They are seeing way more of them already in the county so far this spring. News 3 this morning, reporter Checkol is at Wingrove Park, I believe, this morning with some tips on how to handle deer tick season. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Adam. That's right. Deer ticks are on the rise here in Wisconsin, Madison in particular, and I'm joined by Dr. Susan Paskowitz, UW professor of entomology. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Now, we were talking about this rise. Tell us about, your study and what you guys discovered.
Right. So we have worked in many parts of Wisconsin, including the Northwest and the western part of the state, and just recently started looking here in Madison and have found, compared to the 1990s, a huge increase, and have really looked a lot over the last 5 years and found between 2014 and 2015 a big jump in the number of ticks that we found through our surveys.
And you said 32 to 592. That's from 2014 to 2015?
Right. And we're out there looking right now, so we don't yet know about 2016.
And 2010 was the first time that you guys had really seen it.
That's right. And it was right here, actually, in these woods.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, what tips do you have for people?
So I would recommend that when people are out recreating or working in their yards that they do start to take some precautions. That includes a really careful tick check at the end of the day. Use light colored pants because it's much easier to see the ticks against that kind of a background. We wear boots like these and think that they really help, especially if you're doing things like clearing weeds or other things on your property. And then, of course, there are some products that you can use. One thing that we will use is a repellent that many people use for mosquitoes. This contains a chemical called DEET, and you can spray that actually on your ankles, on your socks and pants, and that will help to keep the ticks, which are usually low on the ground, from crawling up onto you. And then we have another product. This is a product that contains permethrin. And for this, you don't want to actually spray this on your skin, but what my field team and everyone does to try to prevent tick bites is to get some clothing, pants, shirts, socks, put it outside on a sunny day, spray it so it's just a little damp on both sides, let it dry, and then what you have is protection against those ticks.
And what's nice about this stuff is it lasts 6 washes.
That's right.
Now, real quick, sometimes there is this misconception that, you know, you have to be out and about, you have to be hiking or doing something very active, but you're saying you can get a deer tick bite just in your own backyard.
That's right. If your house happens to be in a wooded area or your yard abuts a wooded area like this, now in Madison there is risk of you encountering a tick in your own yard. And of course they transmit things like Lyme disease, human anaplasmosis, so you do need to be careful when you're out there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, Adam, I'm tossing it back to you.
Got to be careful out there. All right. Thank you, Eden. Appreciate it.